And I think the average cancer going around in people right now is lung cancer is sort of the biggest one that's non-gender specific. As guys, we know we're terrible about going to the doctor in general, right? Most guys, when we survey them, would say, I would only go to the doctor when I knew something was physically wrong. We can create better outcomes for people. We can deal with the cancer itself and let you carry on and live the rest of your life. Prostate cancer is the most prevalent cancer right now, and it's the fastest growing. The challenge with something like prostate cancer is that there's little to no symptoms until it's too late.
Jeff, excited to have you here today. So glad you could make it.
Thanks for having me. This is amazing.
I feel like we've already talked for an hour, and now we're going to do it all over again.
Yeah. So we'll try and capture all the magic of the first round.
Yeah, excellent. And you were here, how long ago was it? 4 years ago, roughly?
It feels like, probably 4 years ago, yeah.
Far too long. Had you in before that. So right now, Jeff, and you're going to correct me if I say this wrong, but right now you are the CEO of the Prostate Cancer Centre.
Yes.
Alberta organization.
Yep.
And you've been doing that for several years now, and that's been amazing. And additionally, just as a side note, you're also running for mayor right now.
Oh, yes.
Tremendous. I'm very excited.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll talk about a little of all of that. So that's really exciting. So maybe just leading up to this, what's been going on with the Prostate Cancer Centre? Maybe give us some insights there. It's a great organization.
It's funny because I've been there, I feel like 3.5 years now, and really think we've transformed men's health across the province, right? When I got there, it was, 22 years into an organization that was, frankly, I think the best kept secret in Calgary. And, when you step back and you recognize that 1 in 6 Alberta men will face prostate cancer. That's a big number.
Crazy big number.
Well, and for me, we kept saying the number, and it affects men. But the minute we started talking about it in terms of this is our dads and our uncles and our brothers and us, our friends, it really changed the narrative. Guys over 40 went, hang on a second here. Why is this so prevalent in our community? And it didn't take long before people went, oh, I know somebody who has this or who's fighting this or somebody who has an association to it. And so we leaned into that and really decided that we've got to do more to help people across Alberta. So we became sort of a provincial agency, still based here in Calgary, now going on our 26th year, 100% funded by the community for the community. But it became, a big challenge to me to say, how can we step up and do more across the province to help people facing urological cancer?
Is it, and not to marginalize any other cancer, but as a percentage, what's the incidence rate of prostate cancer versus other obvious ones that we know about?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell. I think the average cancer going around in people right now is lung cancer is sort of the biggest one that's non-gender specific. Certainly for gender specific cases like with male, prostate cancer is the most prevalent cancer right now, and it's the fastest growing.
Wow.
So, and that really, what we do focuses around 65%, I would say, of what we do is prostate cancer, but also kidney and bladder cancer as well.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. That's wild. Yeah, it's I don't have much connection to people with prostate cancer, but I've had lots of other cancers that probably everyone has.
Yeah,
experience.
It's been interesting, right? I think we were talking before, when you cut back to why go to the city and do things, and, I've always believed that the city, you affect people's lives. What I do now deals with people's lives. So it's been incredibly rewarding, incredibly challenging. Cancer is, the ultimate fight, right? Yeah. But I do think that, we've been able to triple fundraising. We have raised awareness. We've created new programming. I'm super proud of our outreach program, which is the Man Van program that now goes across the province we're dedicated to proactive treatment, right? Like if we catch cancer early in this case, I've got lots of tools in the toolbox to help you. It's when it goes metastatic because we've left it too late. Well, then it becomes a timing issue, right? So, always just trying to get out there and encourage men to do that. And then we've now pioneered what's called prehabilitation. And so we believe we have now the most comprehensive prehab program in the world. And the idea with prehabilitation is how do we get guys healthier before they go in for a surgery? And so if we've got on average sort of 12 weeks to take advantage of from the time of diagnosis to surgery, well, can we get them fitter, right? Can we encourage them to lose some weight and drop their cholesterol? Can we encourage them to stop smoking or drinking? What can we do to make them healthier going into a surgery, which is
because that improves outcomes, right?
Absolutely. Less time in hospital, less complications, quicker recovery time, and quite frankly, cost savings, right? Like, when you think about a provincial budget for health being $24 billion, primarily that money is spent on critical and end-of-life care. That's why this proactive piece and getting outcomes better matters so much to me, right?
Yeah, that's massive. And I think the very interesting connection, the implicit connection is that there's, the overall men's health and mental health. It really comes into it. And we've had so many great guests on that talk about, men's mental health and PTSD and all that stuff. So now you guys probably touch on it a bit. It's not the primary focus, but it's there.
Absolutely. Like one of our new departments where we've managed to actually create even virtual care around has to do with mental health. Wow. I think, when you hear cancer in general, it's hard on people. When men face prostate cancer, a lot of them look at it like it's the equivalent of losing their manhood. And that's not necessarily the case, but there is a lot of fear. There's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of challenges there that really do affect people's mental state. And so what I've always tried to do is say, as much as we focus on the physical, let's focus on the mental outcomes as well, because that matters in recovery.
Yeah. Well, and certainly if the men's mental health issue causes them to not pay attention to their physical issues, then your outcomes are terrible.
Well, as guys, we know we're terrible about going to the doctor in general, right? Most guys, when we survey them, would say, I would only go to the doctor when I knew something was physically wrong, right? The challenge with something like prostate cancer is that there's little to no symptoms until it's too late, right? Which is why that simple blood test annually to measure your PSA matters so much. It's not a diagnosis by any means, but it causes us to look at numbers when they fluctuate and say, now we need to do some investigative work. And again, if we can catch that when it's non-metastatic, we can create better outcomes for people, right? We can deal with the cancer itself and let you carry on and live the rest of your life.
Yeah. Is it a fairly symptom-free cancer? I didn't realize that.
That is the biggest challenge. Like
really
little to no symptoms.
Colon cancer is like that too.
I mean, a lot of these things sneak up on us, right? And again, when you've got a culture of us men not going to the doctor when we should be going to the doctor, that creates challenge, right?
So, well, and I guess not that this is something that it matters, but healthcare is really expensive, but it also has long wait lists. And, if there's an 8-hour wait and am I going to go because I think I have prostate cancer? Probably not. It's going to be, I probably just don't want to deal with it type of situation.
Well, the beauty of setting up the Man Van program was really about going into the community where the men are, go to those events in the community, get out to the big sort of things that men go to and have the simple conversation, right? I mean, there's a lot of stigma about, well, what are you going to do to test me, right? A lot of fear of that. I promise you, it's just a simple blood test, right?
Yeah.
But as I always tell people, it's a simple blood test that could save your life.
Yeah.
Because more and more, 15% of the diagnosis that we get into the clinic come from the Man Van. These are guys who were just in the community and went, hang on, wait, something's wrong? I didn't know that. And now we put them on the path to wellness.
It's, I guess, I don't know. I'm not in the organization, but I think, just from a anecdotal level, I think so many men that I know, both young and old, who haven't had to deal with prostate anything, they're so wildly affected by the jokes and the memes and the comedians about the invasiveness of testing. They're never going to get tested. It's a terrible.
It's the biggest challenge
of.
It's the biggest misuse of comedy, and trust me, like we try to make it fun too. We get that the subject matter is challenging for guys, right? But the perception is what has got to change, and I think we're doing that work in the community, and just repeating the fact that it's a simple blood test that can save your life matters, right?
Yeah. Do they still do they must still do physical testing? They have to.
Absolutely. Yeah. But again, when and where we need to, right? Yeah. It's not sort of the primary way to go. Right? I mean, I remember when we expanded, we were up in Edmonton doing a clinic, and maybe this is just Edmonton people, I don't know. This guy walks into the clinic and he's like, okay, I'm ready. He just starts taking his pants down. And we were like, no, man, seriously, that's not the best part of our day either. But I get why the misconception is there, right? And so it tells you that you're constantly having to educate people just to remind them that it isn't what it is. We've made a lot of advances in healthcare, right, since the dawn of time. And those are good things, right? Because it actually should... It takes away the pressure, right? And it allows guys to say, okay, you know what? It's a simple blood test. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, cool. And I would imagine, maybe as an exaggeration, but if a guy knew that it was going to be a physical exam, it just wouldn't go. I'd rather die. It could be at that level.
Especially when, again, you're talking about little to no symptoms, right? I mean, as I said, guys who go to the doctor generally go to the doctor because they know something's physically wrong, right? We're terrible at going for investigative purposes.
Yeah.
So if you can make it easy, if you can make it engaging, that was always why we thought, okay, well, now we've got something to work with in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Then we come and talk to men.
Yeah. It's embarrassing to admit that I went to, I got a new doctor, but I didn't actually have a doctor. So it's hard to say it was new. It was just a doctor. And he did the whole like initial screening and the whole process. And it wasn't necessarily invasive. I just thought, wow, I haven't done anything for so long. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. And look, like, I tell the story all the time. I mean, prostate cancer isn't the old white guy disease, number one. Number two, I mean, many of the guys that come to our clinic, they're at the peak of their health.
Yeah.
There would be no reason to believe there was something physically wrong, right? I mean, but that's the challenge, right? I mean, Bret Hart is one of our biggest advocates. And I think he puts it into the best context when he says, him and his older brother both got tested roughly in the same time. His oldest brother was 10 years older than him. His brother died within months of being tested because he was metastatic. Bret's we caught early, right? And so, he's one of our biggest champions out there in the community. And we're fortunate to have him championing us. Because when the ultimate tough guy can go out there and talk about a simple blood test and why it saved his life and why it could save yours, it's powerful.
Amazing.
It's a powerful message.
You should encourage him to come on the show. I'd love to have him on.
I should have brought him with me.
Such a big fan.
He's a great guy. Great guy.
I used to live up by him, and we used to see him all the time, just kind of like in life, it was fun just to see him. He's just a regular guy, just living the...
He's a regular guy that gets 18-minute standing ovations when he shows up on TV, right? I mean, I've never seen anything like it before. I think it's, again, we're super lucky to have him as an advocate, and it just knowing that he's from Calgary and that he just still has the international appeal that he has been...
That's pretty awesome.
It's been fun to get to know him and call him a friend.
Yeah. That's wild. So you mentioned too that does prostate cancer not have, like, there must be stats on like ethnicity, racial differences. Is there any racial differences?
Yeah. The interesting thing is actually opposite of what sort of we've been known to believe. Like, so if you were Black, Caribbean or Indigenous or have a family history, that 1 in 6 number moves to 1 in 3.
No way. Whoa.
So, I mean,
that's wild.
But again, the big misconception is like, oh, it's the old white guy disease. That's what old white guys die of. It's no. Cancer does not care necessarily about your ethnicity or your gender. Yeah. But in certain cases, you are much more likely to get that type of cancer based on genetics.
Isn't that wild, hey? Like, I guess, you wouldn't think that. But wow, that's insane. Yeah. So, well, let's move on to the other interesting topic of the day is that there is a city election coming up in Calgary.
I've heard.
Which is, that's good. I saw one sign. So not many, actually. Not many signs so far. So it's interesting.
It's interesting, right? I mean, I think we're going to have a very traditional Calgary election, right? I mean, after the September long weekend, it's go time. Everything up into that is all just theater.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know, maybe it was the same last time. But I'm not seeing many signs. There's not a lot of...
I think it was a little different last time because, coming out of COVID, there was limited opportunities.
Right. Yeah, that's
right.
Good point.
I mean, so
good point.
That's what I mean. Like, I think the more traditional sort of Calgary type election is what we're going to see.
Yeah.
I think largely in part, I'm glad the federal election isn't right under the municipal election like we had last time as well. I think that really sort of hampered turnout in places like Calgary. People were pretty frustrated with the outcome. Yeah. I think they're still frustrated with some of the outcome, but I think there is still an undertone of hope that if people say, certain things and they do what they say they're going to do, that there's hope there.
Yeah. Well, and in fairness too, when looking back to the last city election, I think there was a big, I don't know what you call it, but a cycle of new people coming in, and there was a lot of people that left, and that's a massive change.
Well, but
you have a brand new crowd.
It's going to be a bigger change this time. I mean,
is it really?
I think the hard part with this council is that I believe now 8 of them have announced they're not seeking re-election.
Oh, no way.
So just by way of that, and just where a couple of them may or may not go, I think this will be the largest turnover in city council history.
Yeah. Wow. Now, I guess we didn't really say, but you're running for mayor, obviously. You have your name in the hat, as it were.
Yes.
So that's exciting. And I think that would be amazing. I'm sure you'd be a great mayor.
Well, look, it's my honor and privilege to be doing this again. I mean, I think 3.5 years ago, it's funny. I mean, I moved on with my life. I started working with the Prostate Cancer Centre. I found a new passion in life. And, just over time, issue after issue, there was just challenge after challenge that Calgarians said, hang on a second here, this isn't what we asked for.
Right.
And the hard part, I think, with all of these issues has come down to one thing. It's that city council never stopped to build trust with the public. And by way of not having trust in the public, I think that's why we're going to see this massive turnover, which tells you that it's going to come down to leadership experience and vision, right?
Right. You know what? I would, take this for what it's worth, and maybe I'm pumping your tires a bit, but I think the thing that impressed me last time we talked and, clearly has played out is that you were and continue to be someone who cares about the community around you, and you're actively trying to improve it. I think that's what I got from you initially too. Like you weren't, you didn't have an axe to grind necessarily. You wanted to see improvement. You care about Calgary. You want big things to happen, and you kind of care about this city and, the citizens more importantly, I guess. So,
well, and thank you. But I mean, look, I'm a lifelong Calgarian, right? Born and raised here. I'm raising my 3 kids here. I'm vested in this city, and I believe Calgary is the greatest city on earth, right? It's why I continue to live here and want to spend my time here. But we're not without challenge. And I think every jurisdiction has challenge. I get all of that. I think what's different about Calgary is that you look at our city, you look at the type of leaders that we have in our city, you look at the innovation that's happened in our city, you look at the people who've just cared to stand up and give back to our community.
Yeah.
There's nothing on earth like that.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I mean, I raise money across the province for the Prostate Cancer Centre. The difference in raising money in Calgary versus Edmonton, it's night and day.
Is that right? Hey?
Night and day.
That surprises me, actually. I'm surprised that it's not similar, I guess is what it is.
I suppose the difference is like this. I think, people will invest in the cause because they have a personal connection to it.
Yeah.
The difference is in Calgary, people will invest in the cause, but primarily people do it to support community. And there's a difference there, right? And I believe that's always what has made Calgary different about us versus every other jurisdiction out there. And I think that's really why I continue to want to do it. I care to give back to our city. I care to make it better. It's a great place.
Yeah.
We could be better.
It's interesting my sociologist hat just got put on for a second. And now I'm doing a anecdotal study in my head. I wonder how much of that, and if, this would be an interesting PhD dissertation. I wonder how much of that community spirit is caused by the Stampede event, which is like, other than when I think worldwide, there's probably only a handful of those kind of annual Mardi Gras comes to mind, and some of those type of events. But Stampede is a very big deal, and I think we embrace it as a city, so it's a big thing. And then the other thing too is we have, like, Calgary, more so than some cities, anyways, has a strong core. Like, whereas some cities have a distributed core, if you know what I mean, like, or has multiple mini cores around. I think Calgary has a strong core environment. And the fact that I guess Edmonton has it too, with the Rogers Centre is in the downtown. Ours is downtown and always has been. Theirs was outside of downtown originally. And I wonder how much of that, if we were sociologists, we would somehow devise a study to evaluate why we're like that.
I think it goes a little bit beyond, right? I mean, I think, I'm probably still pretty unique in the fact that I'm born and raised here, right? The vast majority of Calgarians have come from other places in the world. And we've chose to come to Calgary for one reason, opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. This is the place of opportunity. And my goal is to restore Calgary as the entrepreneurial hub of the world, because people don't just come here for career. They come here to start a business. They come here to start a life. And it doesn't matter if you come from, the Middle East or Saskatchewan, everybody keen for the same reason. And I think that's actually what's made us different, right? I think we have a different worldly viewpoint about why people are here. And that's why people continue to invest in the community here, because they want to say, thanks for making this a great place. I'm glad I'm here. But how do I make it a great place for the next person too? And that's why we give back.
You know what? My day job is dealing with human resources / employment. And I very regularly ask the question, like, when someone comes from particularly somewhere warm that I would probably want to go to, I always ask them, why are you here? Like, why Calgary?
Did you come for the 9 months of hockey and 3 months of bad ice? Or
it's so cold here.
Yeah.
But, and universally, and I think everyone could guess, opportunity comes up.
Yeah.
Instantly, it's like opportunity. And even people that are coming from other parts of Canada, they're still saying the same thing. Like if they're moving from Quebec to Alberta or Ontario, they're here for opportunity. And that takes so many formats, right? Like it's not going to be just better jobs or higher pay. It's going to be a lot of things.
I define it as success, right? Like I think our only job on council is to make sure we set people up for success. It doesn't matter what you came here for or what you do now. We want you to be successful. And so let's set it up so that the rules are in your favor. A yes is in your favor.
Yeah.
Your success is our success.
Yeah.
That's why we're here, right?
Yeah. And I guess city council's job too is to, it's a big city. There's lots to do. And you had said off camera before, there's how many different services? Was it 25?
Yeah. I mean, 26 core lines of business.
Core lines of business. Yeah. That's wild. Hey, just managing that, it must be.
Well, you're right. It's a big city. And I mean, I think part of the challenge is, come election time, we want to focus on the shiny building or the big thing.
Yeah.
But the reality is, you need the core infrastructure in place. It's why infrastructure is one of my core pillars. Mm-hmm. If the water isn't running, if the roads aren't paved, if the garbage isn't picked up, why do people want to come here? They don't. So sometimes the functional pieces of being a city get lost because we're trying to chase after something that isn't necessarily what we need to be looking at.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess I'm a little fascinated. I'm not super fascinated by the infrastructure in Calgary, like the underground infrastructure. And we had, it wasn't like a calamity. Mm-hmm. I'm sure some people, it was unpleasant that the water got shut down for as long as it did. And, and I guess it would be really easy to point the finger and say, oh, you were in charge at the time that it happened, therefore it's your fault. But it's, it's way more complex than that, of course. Yeah. But, we have, I think the good thing that the water, what do we call it? The water crisis of 2024.
Yeah.
I guess the good part of it.
Showergate.
Yeah, Showergate. Yeah, where we all became the unwashed. But I think the good thing behind it was it causes the engineers of the city at least to put better plans in place and say, oh, we were off on maintenance scheduling and what we needed to be doing on a regular basis to ensure that the system was good. And, I guess as a CEO and as a CEO, like we have to take accountability for the things that happened during our watch. That's just our responsibility. And, I don't know. I didn't follow it so carefully to say, well, city council blew it somehow or whatever, but it was a mess. Maybe, hopefully we learn from it and it becomes a thing we look back at and say, look what it improved. Yeah. Maybe that's what comes out of it. So.
I think you're right. Accountability is the big word there, right? Like, I don't think, as much as I'd love the narrative that, the mayor went out there and cut the hole in the pipe herself. I mean, that's not reality, right? Like, it's nobody's fault.
Yeah.
It's taking the accountability to say, how do we fix it, right? Yeah. And my challenge with the water crisis wasn't that, we wanted to blame somebody or anything like that. Yeah. It really came down to three simple questions. What's the fix? Mm-hmm. How much will it cost? And when will it be done?
Yeah.
And those are the three things I've never heard somebody on council ask, right? Because at the end of the day, it is our responsibility to ensure that city staff has the right tools and resources to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where you have to look at, better funding, better opportunity, better outcomes, and being accountable to the investment you make in future infrastructure.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I'm sure it's in what you're saying, but I think, engineering department, which the city has, has to be responsible for looking forward and saying, here's our risks.
Yep.
And, doing a significant risk assessment. Shocking to me that you could have something that big and that major cause, without any level of significant redundancy, cause that level of issue. And it's like, why? I didn't even, as they were fixing it, I don't know, I'm not an engineer by any means, but I was thinking, why are they putting back in exactly what was there? Why don't they just put in 2 or something? I don't know. That's the engineer kind of.
Well, and I think that's the part of the fix part, right?
Yeah.
It's the part of how do we ensure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I think there's a lot of Calgarians that are, they're saying to me, what if this happens again? It doesn't seem like this was the solution. And so that tells you either you've got an engineering challenge that you didn't solve, or you have a communications exercise you didn't execute properly.
Yeah. Yeah. So what other big infrastructure things does Calgary have that need to be considered or looked at? It's roadways, I guess.
Roads are a big one. I mean, I think, when you think about 40% now of our roads have fallen into disrepair.
Yeah.
That means we're picking those roads up and putting them back down clean.
I think Calgarians would say it's 100%. It's 40%.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. It's a challenge, right? I mean, I have never seen deterioration and lack of maintenance the way we have. But I mean, again, that falls on city council, right?
Yeah.
You set the budget for the roads department. And when roads has said, we need X and you give them Y, but then you stand there and go, well, why hasn't this been fixed? Yeah, of course there is, right? Yeah. And so the challenge is like, what I don't see a lot of on city council is connecting the dots. You and I talked about this before. Yeah. It's making the investment for the long-term return, right? It is always my challenge about electric buses, right? We know they didn't work, but moreover, what we know is that we invested $300 million in nat gas buses a few years back. I was the chair of the transportation group that did it. So we have new buses. They are clean, they are efficient, and they were set to run for 15 years. We built a natural gas refueling station so that our city fleet was managed in a much better way, more cost effectively over the long term. So when the city goes to then say, or council then has this idea of electric buses, let's say, oh, we'll take a low interest loan for $350 million. A loan, okay? But to take the loan, you've got to shut down your nat gas program. So you've got roughly an $800 million investment you've already made that you're going to turn off so you can take a loan for $350 million on electric buses that you know they didn't work in Edmonton and they didn't work in Austin, Texas. So if you've got two climates that are, of varying degrees here saying this didn't work, when your own city infrastructure people say this won't work for us because it will cause deterioration of our roads, and council does it anyway, please stop leading with ideology. Yeah. It's just not where we need to be.
Not to get too scientific, but what's the issue with the electric bus? Like where's the fail feature?
I haven't gotten too far into it. I mean, I can tell you from a roads perspective, it's the weight, right? And so effectively
battery, like they would be
100%,
not like the overhead.
No, that's correct.
I had when I was a kid,
battery powered buses. Yes. And so they've just proven that long term they don't work, right? Whether it's weight, traction, all kinds of different issues that they have.
Oh man, can you imagine? Like, I never even thought of the traction issue. That'd be crazy.
Well, I mean, let's go testing for the middle of winter of 14th Street.
We do it all the time. We test every year. I've seen it so many times. I've seen buses jackknifed on the hills around me. How terrible. Yeah. And it just shuts Calgary down.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe we should invest in winter tires for the buses. I don't know if it would work. Probably wouldn't work, but yeah. Yeah, that's wild. I never even thought about the bus.
It's just a good example of, we're chasing a problem that doesn't need to be solved, right? And we're using tax dollars to do it. And so, in the line of let's connect the dots here, when you're seeing massive tax increases year over year, this is why. It's why I have said we can hold the line on taxes for 4 years. I mean, you look at even today, story comes out, $220 million surplus, right? Divide that by $18 million, because about every $18 million you add to the city budget, that's a 1% property tax increase. So you look at that and you go, that's a 12% property tax reduction, right? Yeah. It's also one of those things that you look at and say, well, if they increase taxes by 8%, they still would have had 4% more doing nothing.
Yeah.
So there was no reason to increase taxes this year. And so when people say to me, well, how are we going to increase taxes or freeze taxes? How are we going to, manage through that? Well, we're going to find the efficiencies. We're going to, put programming on the table that is in line with public safety, infrastructure, and affordability, and we're going to manage our costs. And I look at it like this: 3.5 years of running a provincial charity, right? If every one of my dollars comes from donors, if I wasted dollars on things that didn't result in patient outcomes, I would have been fired years ago. Yeah, right. It's the same at the city. We're investing in outcomes. We have to show people that we can do better with their dollars. It's not about being allergic to taxes, right? I don't believe people are. I think they will put in an investment for fair value and return.
I agree.
But when you can't see the return, where you don't know where the money's going and you have no idea why they're asking for more, that's an accountability problem.
Exactly. When you say, hey, we're going to increase property taxes by X, and then you say, okay, I get it. What I want in life costs money. I get it. Then I get in my car. I blow over potholes that are destroying my car, and then I get downtown and I have to wait while people are crossing the street. because they've been drinking all night and have nowhere to live. And this is like,
I don't think the drinking is the problem. I think it's something a little harder than drinking.
I'm getting nothing for what I'm putting into
But, and that's the challenge people have, right? I mean, and so that's where when I look at affordability and I say, okay, I get it. Everything in life costs more. Everything's getting more challenging. What are the things that we can do as a city, right?
Yeah.
Well, we can get focused on where we're investing, where we're putting money, and we can show better returns, right? And we've got to start by doing that with the dollars we have today before we ask for more.
What is, like, just in real terms, so in, and I think affordability it's a big obtuse term that I like things to be affordable. But when you say affordability, firstly, I think, well, what is the city doing that affects my day to day? Because I went to the store last night and suddenly the price of granola bars are way higher. But that's not what you're talking about. What specifically are we talking about?
In a way we are, right? Like when you talk about affordability, everything has gone up. Permits cost more at the city. Your water delivery costs more. NMAX costs more, right? Property tax has gone up, right? All of those things result in money that we need from citizens, right? And so, from a perspective of how does it touch your life? Well, it touches your life every time you turn the tap on, right? Yeah. Every time the water runs, every time you walk down the sidewalk, every time you get on that road and drive to work.
Take a bus.
Right. Whatever that is, it's impacting your life and those costs are going up. The challenge I have with it is that the cost goes up and I don't get better value for my dollars.
Yeah.
I just see money getting wasted.
Yeah.
And so that's got to stop.
Were you around in that era when Calgary invested heavily in the parking meters, like the big change and the technology? Where
that was really all before my term in 2017.
Yeah. I feel like we didn't lean into that well enough. Like that was good technology.
I think it was the best technology at the time when it comes to the Park Plus initiative. I think the challenge was, as always, are you doing it for the citizens or are you doing it to create a monetizable structure that you want to go out to the world with?
Yeah.
And I think by the time the city, and I remember having some of these late stage conversations in 2017, by the time the city said, hey, you know what, we could sell this to other jurisdictions. The problem is technology moves at a rate of technology, right? And by the time you got there, when you hoe and hum for 3.5 years over it,
too late.
You're too late, right? Like there's other things that are out there that are catching up or more advanced now just because of they got developed today, not 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. That's wild.
But it's a good example of
it is.
As a city, be innovative, right? And if you can figure out ways to monetize innovation that can benefit other citizens and other cities in other cities, I think that's a great thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's an untold story, really. I don't think many people are aware of that technology that happened. So it was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with the infrastructure, making it more affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an affordability issue. And what else is on the high level plan that we have to?
I think public safety is the biggest thing I'm hearing, right? I mean, it's interesting because you go back to the last election and I think relatively speaking, certain areas of the city were divided in terms of what the issues were, and we can call it out. The Northeast felt very different compared to the rest of the city.
Yeah.
I can tell you, talking to thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of citizens, number one, people just don't feel safe here anymore.
Yeah.
And so if we want to be a city that leans into tourism and culture and entertainment and placemaking and have more people living downtown and have more people moving to Calgary and more businesses starting here, the number one barrier to entry to all of those things is, do I feel safe in the city?
100%. It was an interesting moment in my life when I've been working downtown now for, I don't even know how many years. It's been like a super long time, probably 27, 28 years, like a long, long time. And I remember, and I never felt unsafe in Calgary up until, I remember it was like almost a specific day. I just said, I don't feel safe in Calgary anymore. Just walking downtown. And I'm not like a 25-year-old girl.
We're two fit, middle-aged white males.
Like I can take care of myself. I didn't feel safe. Like that was a weird, really uncomfortable feeling for me. So
it's a big challenge, right? I mean, I think about young people taking transit, my daughter included.
Absolutely.
I don't think she's safe on some of the train lines that we have. I think about all those people that require transit to get around the city for work or just to get to an appointment. That's a big concern. And the game's changed. I mean, back in our day and, the which really isn't that long ago in downtown Calgary.
No.
You'd see somebody on the streets and you'd say, well, they're just down on their luck, right? And there's probably a path that they're going to get back to, but the challenge is very different post-COVID,
Yeah, it's
right?
not-
The explosion of opioid addiction, and just the sheer number of people that are challenged by mental health and addiction it's a different game today.
Yeah.
And that requires us to look at things differently. I think, to me, one of the biggest failures of city council is on the public safety side. And, much like I deal with in healthcare now, every single day I've got patients and families and doctors and nurses and all kinds of different stakeholders in the health game that you have to work with in order to come up with the best possible outcome for the patient. Right? It's the same as our downtown right now. And look, I will fully admit every downtown in every major city in North America is going through this problem.
Sure.
The difference
100%.
is, and what I said before, the amount of talent and expertise we have in Calgary tells me that if we pull the right team together, we can lead the way out of this for North America, not just wait to follow.
Yeah.
And it starts by building partnerships, right? I think ideologically, we have a city council and a province and probably a federal government that are a bit different. And city council has chosen to pick fights over ideology before making partnerships. And when you have a failure to build partnership, you don't solve problems.
Yeah.
And so if we look at, the challenge of what we're seeing, let's say downtown right now, let's call it roughly 3,000, 3,500 homeless people downtown right now. Okay. The vast majority of the crime is being committed, like 98% of the crime is being committed by about 180, 190 of those people. So that tells me those are the people I need to deal with. I have a policing issue with those people. And my job is to work with the police chief to say, what do you need to solve the problem? Because my job is to resource you and make sure you have the tools to get there. But 90% of the problem is mental health and addiction.
Yeah.
That's where we're going to require a provincial partnership to say, okay, we've got to agree that we all have one problem we need to solve. But what we also need to agree on is what is our role and responsibility in solving the problem? Because the city, at a $5.5 billion a year budget, the city can't do it all, right?
Yeah.
The healthcare budget this year for Alberta is $24 billion. So there's a large discrepancy in terms of, the 26 lines of service I need to deliver for that money versus what they're doing just in healthcare.
Yeah.
And obviously healthcare is also a big component, right? That's a major piece of provincial funding. But we've got to figure out how do we come together, find the common ground, and then solve the problem together. And it really does come down to, what lane is mine to stick in and what lane is yours to stick in.
Yeah.
And walk together.
Yeah.
Walk together and solve that problem.
Yeah. I have quite a number of friends that are in the police department. And I think one of the interesting things is when we look at an issue like, we're kind of blanket calling it crime, but it's bigger than that, way bigger. Like
Much
you're
bigger,
saying,
much bigger.
And but when you talk to the guy on the bike downtown, like the police officer, and ask him how to fix it, that's where you start to get good answers. Like you start to say, where are your hands tied? What resource do you need? Like, cops get a lot of training. Do you need more training? Or, where is it that you have to deal with things? And I think one of the shortfalls of the way the media works is that we take speaking notes and we say, oh, hey, suddenly the answer to the problem is to throw cops at it. But that starts to feel like, oh, well, someone high up just is saying, hey, here's a simple answer to a complex problem. But I think most of those problems have been discussed at like all levels. And we start to say, where do we have an issue and where do we fix it? And, the answer isn't just, you don't want to have a police state because that would solve the problem. Like you could hire 100,000 cops with M16s on every corner and we would solve crime in downtown Calgary right now. But it would create so many other issues that you wouldn't want to be there. And that's what they're doing in Mexico right now. They're trying to solve the crime. They just put cops on the street. But it's super complex issue.
It is a complex issue. And I think it starts from the fact that, number one, we've got to support police. I think we've seen a city council that, because of ideology, they get in the way of them doing their job. And I've always believed if you want policing to work, police fairly, police consistently. Right. That's how you get to what they need. Support police and make sure. I mean, I think right now we have the lowest morale on the department I think we've ever had. That's a big challenge. I think there are judicial reforms that we need in this province that will help support how we deal with the crime factor that's going on downtown. Again, requiring a provincial partnership, right, to deliver those things. But there's everything from presence to programming to resources to partnerships that we're going to need. I mean, to your point, it's a very complex problem and it's going to require a complex result. And we're going to have to figure out a way to work together if we're going to solve it. But I do think it's possible. I think with the minds that we have here in Calgary, with the talent we have across this province, we should absolutely be able to pull everybody together, find a program, and let's try it, right?
Yeah.
And where and when we find things that are working, keep doing it, keep investing.
Yeah.
When it's not, we've got to stop this idea in government that we can't admit when we're wrong. We sometimes have to be able to stand up and say, you know what, we tried it, it didn't work. Yeah. So we've got to pivot. But here's what we're going to try next.
Yeah.
And that's got to be absolutely part of the acceptable outcomes of how we do this, because we don't know the results we're going to get. It is going to be a bit of trial and error. Yeah. But where and when you have, multiple parties working together, whether that's community groups that are out there on the ground, whether that's police, whether that's provincial or municipal politics, we've all got to find the common ground if we're going to solve this problem.
Yeah. Something you had said earlier too about how, well, when you think about it too, if there's a couple hundred people they're the actual crime, then, and I guess all statements are true depending on how you define the terms. So, if crime is violent crime, theft, or, some kind of damaging buildings, so yeah, okay, I would agree there. But then we also have, that really just leaves, if 3,500 is the number, that leaves, 3,300 people that, I hate to say that they're being a nuisance, but when you have someone like camped out in your elevator lobby because they have nowhere else to go and the drugs hit them at that moment, and technically, you probably could say even that they're loitering. There's some very minor crime they're committing, but that's very hard. A police presence solves some of that. But like you look downtown, we're spending a fortune right now on security guards. I have probably one of the fastest growing industries in Calgary is, I would agree, just dropping security guards to solve problems, create presence.
So I think there was a letter that went around a couple of weeks back that 90% of the business people in downtown Calgary signed, right? I mean, the cost of security, the cost of public safety, the cost of inability to move business forward is all because of what we're seeing on the streets. And look, I'll be the first person to tell you, I'm not going to solve the problem day one.
Yeah.
We're going to start to bring those partnerships together and start to think about how we can solve the problem.
Yeah.
I think we'd be remiss to believe any politician could wave a magic wand and fix what we've got going on. That's not what we're at.
Interesting. It would be interesting if it was possible, but to create a day one survey of different parts of the city and go to businesses and people that work downtown and say, do you feel safe today? Today's a day on a scale of 1 to 10. And then next year at the same time, do another survey. Say, did anything get better?
Absolutely on sort of what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. Because I think one of the biggest things I find challenging, having been on the inside and now on the outside, is the accountability piece.
Yeah.
And so there's one role I am going to absolutely hire in the mayor's office, and it's called the Chief Accountability Officer. And that is exactly their job. Their job is to go out and say, okay, we've got a strategic plan. Now we've got to measure against it. Are we working towards the goal? And if the answer is no, what are we doing to pivot and move towards that goal and keep striving towards achieving what we said we were going to do.
Yeah. And they essentially turn into a high level project manager that, that's most project managers, their job is.
Well, and keep sort of, the guiding post between administration and council, right? I mean, I think, you go back to what we said before in terms of the largest turnover in council history. These are going to be a lot of new people. And I can tell you, it's a learning curve, right? Yeah. I've been there, done this. I've done the job.
Yeah.
My job as mayor is to make sure that we get people up to speed as fast as possible. And to be honest, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I've never liked the party system, right? I want a city that innovates. I want a city that brings creative ideas to the table, because I think that's how we solve some of those complex problems. When you've got a bunch of yes people at the table, well, I mean, I've been in healthcare and oil and gas. I've been in technology and film. I've been on council. I have never needed a party of people to just sit there and agree with me.
We're all voting this way right now, just so you guys know.
Yeah. Thanks.
That's not going to work.
Yeah. And it doesn't work, right? I mean, I think that's the big challenge. I think you've already got a party system at the city, right? You got the yes mayor party and the naysayers, and neither one of which are getting anything positive done for Calgarians.
Yeah. I remember in Jack Welch's book, he was the president or the CEO of GE. And he said in his book, it was probably the only thing I remember out of his whole book. He said, if I go to a board meeting, I have to synthesize the quote, but he said, if I go to a board meeting and I have 20 people in that board meeting and they all agree to the same thing, that they all have one opinion, I see a 20-person cost savings. because I don't need that opinion duplicated 20 times. I need 20 different opinions. We can all get behind one, but I don't need one opinion. Like, why would we elect so many people if we get the exact same thoughts of
I don't need 14 counselors around a table if it's all about the same opinion.
No,
it just does the job.
Sense.
Yeah.
Bring me some new ideas. Like, let's innovate and be there. So
Absolutely.
It's shocking that we would even think that makes any sense whatsoever. So it doesn't.
Well, and look, like, I get the longstanding brand at the provincial or federal levels. I get why parties are there. At the municipal level, our game is very different, right? And, I mean, to me, one of the greatest things I think about Calgary is the diversity of our communities, right? And when you get people in those communities that are representing well and bringing good ideas to the table, and we have, conversation around the council table about the merits of projects versus the ideology behind them, I think that's what moves our city forward better. Yeah. And I think it actually creates a more unified city, right? Yeah. Because I think at the end of the day, Calgarians are much more alike than we are different. Yeah. Right. We all care about the same things. We all value public safety. We all value a clean and city that's infrastructure rich. And we value the idea that we can all afford to be here. Right. Like, my job is very simple. Create a safe, affordable place of opportunity for everybody. Right. Right. That's it.
Well, and that responsibility falls on all councillors, really. So it's a big responsibility. Yeah. I think part of the mayor's job, and I forget who actually said this at one point, but your job as a mayor is to get the opinions, to have people interact appropriately and not just fight, and not, there has to be good debate done properly, and you have to get the best out of people that are on council and set the standard, really,
in a very public setting. So, yes. Yeah. And I mean, look at it. It's your job is to be the chair of the board, right? Your job is to work with the other board members to say, hey, we've got ideas. We want to innovate our city. We want to move forward. Bring them to the table. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's, it was an interesting thing, and it came out of that last set of interviews that we did, so far back. And I thought it was really interesting that everyone talked about this vision for Calgary. And then, I would imagine if you asked, how many people are here now? Over 1 million. If you asked 1 million people, what's Calgary's vision? What has it been over the last 4 years?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you.
No. Like, I wouldn't even know where to find it. You can maybe, if you Google it, maybe it will come up. But
I think most people would respond in a negative way, and probably in association with the climate emergency.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you lead with that. That's your, okay, here we are, climate emergency.
Well, I was doing a radio show with Shay Gannon for quite some time. And, we talk about the issues all the time, type of thing. And it always kept coming back to one thing, public trust, right? Like, the challenge is, when you campaign on one thing and then do another, people lose trust.
100%. Right? Absolutely.
I mean, and so, from the climate emergency to the arena deal to the bag bylaws to the blanket rezoning, it's
the transit.
Well, the failure to deliver transit, right? Yeah. And all of those things, it tells citizens that this group of people just doesn't do what they say they're going to do. And then they lose trust. Yeah. And trust is, I think, going to be the biggest challenge for the next council. I think we're going to have to work very quickly to set a plan in motion that A, respects what people are actually asking us to do, but B, builds trust with the public again, because we've got to restore trust with city council.
Yeah. We got to get some stuff done. Yeah. Like, seriously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've been talking about a train line to the airport for 1,000 years, right? I mean, if we want to be a city of the world, if we want to continue to attract headquarters here, if we want to be a destination place for tourism, well, I mean, there's simple things to do, right? Yeah. I mean, it's like the priority has got to be connecting a line from the airport to downtown.
Why is that hard? Like, I know, like I don't know. Seems easy. Just hire a contractor and they'll get it done.
I don't think it's hard. I think the challenge, again, is nobody connects the dots, right? So it's nobody stepping back in a strategic plan to say, okay, what do we need to start with, right? What's the vision? Where do we want to go? But then what are the tools we need and things we need to do to actually move us forward towards achieving that goal, right? What are the KPIs we're setting in terms of getting there? And to me, I think it just comes down to the shiny object, right? Like, somebody new walks in, oh no, I want to do this now. Hang on a second, folks. That's not what we said we're going to do for citizens, right? Yeah. So if we're going to prioritize transit, okay, what are the things in transit we need to prioritize? Is it electric buses? I would argue no. Yeah. Right? Is it connecting a line to the airport to downtown? Absolutely.
Well, yeah, you want to solve a problem that exists.
Right.
Like,
right.
We have buses. They're working. Why are you solving a bus problem?
Yeah. And look, we can look at those things down the road once we've achieved sort of the primary pieces of the goal, right?
Yeah.
And, to me, transit, it's about moving people from point A to point B. It's not about the city beautification project.
Yeah. Well, and, like putting a train from the airport to downtown is, Vancouver has one. Doesn't everyone have one?
Well, just about every jurisdiction in the world, I think, has one.
How are we behind? I don't know how we're behind on so many things. Like I used to live in Edmonton, and I thought, I was always so proud to come to Calgary because Edmonton's downtown was a
bit of a challenge.
It was bad news.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, it either felt like a ghost town or it was really bad. And then, I don't know, it seemed like, and it's not that I would say that their city council is like strides above others, but they got the Rogers Centre done and they cleaned up downtown. And downtown's better there now. And it's an impressive.
I think it's parts of it are better, right?
Yeah,
I say
all
all
of
of it,
not
better.
all better. No.
But I mean, it's funny. Last year I was doing a lot of speaking engagements up in Edmonton for the Prostate Cancer Centre, and I'd almost always start with, "Who knew Edmonton would have a hockey team and running water? Like, way to get us, Calgary! Hang it." Yeah. So it's. But I mean, I look at it like it's not a competition. It's like where and when you can look and see in other jurisdictions what's working. Adopt it. Let's try it.
100%.
Right? Look at those things. And I think, my vision for the entertainment cultural district was always based around what did the ICE district do up in Edmonton. It was always based around places like Nashville and Kansas City and Columbus.
And can we improve on that?
Absolutely.
Look at what they did. Can we do it better?
But it takes vision. It takes follow through. It takes connecting the dots to say, we've only got this much budget.
Yeah.
So what are the things we need to do to get us towards the goal? Right. Yeah. And, goal setting is a really important piece of how you build a city. Yeah. And the problem with this council is they don't sit together. They don't talk together. They don't set goals together. They react and point fingers.
Right.
Well, how is that productive?
Yeah. Isn't something like a train line from the airport to downtown, isn't that also provincial funds? Like that would be
again, it would require that partnership, right? And again, council has failed to build partnerships, right? Like, I mean, part of the reason why I think the Green Line debate, went kind of south on everything. I mean, remember when I left council, we had 17 recommendations in place to not screw this up, and they still managed to screw it up. So, but the biggest lesson I think in it isn't the line itself. It's when you don't treat your funding partners as if they're partners or respect them as part of the conversation, at some point, somebody's going to put their thumb down on you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing with the province right now, right? You failed to communicate with us. You failed to tell us what you were doing. You failed to engage us. So we're going to do it. Get out of the way, right? We've got money invested in this too. And what I think the province looked at it and said was, you guys aren't spending the money responsibly. You're not doing the things you said you were going to do. Yeah. You've been all over the map meandering, and citizens are saying, get this done. Yeah. And that's what we're now prepared to do.
And the crazy thing about big projects like that is that they just cost money whether they're being built or not. And at some point, the wallet's going to close.
You can't just continue to have burn rate going year after year after year. I mean, like when did we start talking about Green Line? 2013, 2010?
It was so long ago.
It was so long ago that it doesn't even seem believable to people anymore.
Yeah. So when people say, hey, we're going to have a high-speed transfer from Edmonton to Calgary, that's just like, in our minds, that's just like this fantasy. We've been talking about it for 50 years. It's never going to happen. It always has that weight, but, I'm sure someone can do it.
But that's the trust factor, right? Like when we should be a jurisdiction that does big things because we're capable of doing it. But when you come up with these big ideas and the average Calgarian rolls their eyes and goes, lol,
never happening.
It's never going to happen because they don't believe you anymore.
Yeah.
You haven't done what you said you were going to do. And if you want to be successful in politics, if you want to be successful at city building, if you want to be successful at building trust, whether that's in politics or just in business, you got to do what you said you're going to do.
Well, really, there's nothing worse than saying, hey, we're going to do something. And then a month later, we're going to revise it. And then we're going to revise it. And then we're going to revise it. And it's creep and then doesn't happen. It just costs ridiculous amounts of money. Like, I think that's, would be critical. And hopefully you would do it is you would come in and say, this is our goal. Yeah. We're going to get from here to here.
Definitively, this is what we're going to do. I mean, I think, again, the challenge in politics these days is I think too many people want to be all things to everybody.
Yeah.
And you can't be, right? I mean, we don't have enough tax dollars to go around that we can do everything all at once. Can we get a lot of these things done? Sure. But it requires stage gating and it requires a plan, right? And when you haphazardly put projects together and just keep spending, and then as council did, by the way, fire the CFO because they were spending too much. that's a challenge, right? I mean,
Wow. Is there, is this something you said a little earlier? We have 14 on council? Is that what it is?
Yep.
Does that change over time, like as the population goes up?
it has from time to time. Yeah. I mean, I do think it's one of the things. I think there's a city review committee that's looking at ward boundaries and just population growth and whether or not we'd benefit from having more councillors.
Yeah.
I'm more on the side of what I think we've done in more recent years is actually staffing the councillors' offices differently. I don't think we need more politicians. I think we need more people helping execute the work that needs to be done and more people helping us engage with community to make sure that, the things we're bringing forward are reflective of what people are asking us to do.
Right. That makes sense.
So, I mean, you've seen over the last few years, council budgets go up, but that's primarily due to increasing resources to make sure you can serve the public.
Right.
Based on, an ever increasing population. I mean, 70,000 people roughly a year are moving to Calgary, right? That's a lot of people. Yeah. It tells you got to manage growth differently, but you've got to manage services and delivery differently as well.
Yeah. That's wild. Didn't you say that the Calgary, the staff, the headcount of, is it the mayor's, like what portion of
in general, city staff has increased by, I believe, 23% over the last 3.5 years.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's wild. That's a big number.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to the same conversation around tax, right? I mean, you've increased the number, you've increased the staff, you've increased the cost.
For what value?
Where's the value?
Yeah.
Where's the value? Right.
Yeah. Like if you're trying to fix a problem and then at the end of fixing it, you can't identify what's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It won't fix the problem.
And, I mean, in business, you would say, let's start by identifying the problem we have, right? Then resourcing it, not resource it to try and solve the problem.
Yeah.
Right. Because all you're doing is compounding the problem at that point.
Yeah. And, I guess, I don't know. I'm sure everyone's got vanity projects, but I hate vanity projects. Like that is what kills me.
And look, like when I talk about building a strategic plan with the next council, it's really about talking, to the points of affordability, infrastructure, and public safety. Okay, those are what we need on the table. What's really important in any strategic planning session is to also talk about what's not on the table.
Right.
Right. We cannot be all things to everyone. We've got to get back to focusing on core services. We've got to get back to the basics of how do we run and continue to build a city that manages the growth we're seeing, right? We want to continue to be that place of opportunity. We want to continue to be the greatest city on earth, right?
Yeah.
But to do that, it's going to require us to step back for a second and say, what's the priority now? Yeah. And it's not that these other things, by the way, aren't important, right? They could be important down the road.
They have a level of importance.
Exactly.
There's so many things.
And so we've got to focus on the primary level of importance pieces, right? In order to move the city to a place where now we can deal with growth differently. Now we can build faster. Now we can increase our tax base rather than increase our tax rate.
Right. That makes so much sense. I work with an organization and one of their methodologies, I guess, is that every time that they're looking at some project or something that they're going to do differently than they're currently doing, and there's always, a mini business plan for any project, right? That's just standard. What they do is they say, here's our core values, or here's our, 3 top things that we find we have to deal with. How does this project address those 3 things? And it has to be part of the business plan.
Yeah.
It can't just be, a project that exists simply because there's an interest group. It has to address those 3 core things.
Yeah. So. And the challenge I think we've seen is that, when I was on council, we started that idea of we've got to have a business plan. We've got to have a core function of why we're doing things. Yeah. The challenge is you can't interpret those plans and use it to your advantage, right? You can't manipulate the idea of what the plan or the merit was there. Right. I mean, we've just seen that too much over the last little while. And that's really where, those costs have escaped and really where it leaves citizens going, we didn't ask for this. Yeah. This is not what I'm talking. Like, you look at like the downtown association just talking about the 8th Avenue project, right?
Right.
I mean, something that recently got stalled because this isn't what people asked for. So when you talk to the businesses downtown, the businesses asked for 2 things: increase public safety, right? And make it cleaner. Yeah. They didn't ask for Vietnamese sourced granite to be put down on the streets, right? They didn't ask for, an $8 million revitalization plan. Wow. They asked for 2 simple things: more presence of police officers and make it clean. That's it. Right. Yeah. And so it again leads to this interpretation piece of what was asked for got interpreted. Oh, well, we got to make this a beautiful place, and we got to do this, and we got to do this. No. That's not what people are saying. I'm not saying we shouldn't be a beautiful place, but we got to start with the basics. You can put all the granite streets down in the world.
Yeah.
If people don't feel safe, they're not going to go there.
Yeah.
So again, which problem are we solving here? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild. I hadn't heard that. So that's scary.
It's taking a focus of what are public priorities. What are people asking us to do? It's why I've always said we need more community involvement, right? I mean, you go back to, I think there was a statement a few months back where council said, well, we've got this great plan for housing, but we're not going to engage citizens because they're tired. You know, we need to give them a break. I'll tell you right now, as a citizen, of which I currently am, right? I'm not on council. It's not that we're tired of you asking our opinion. I'm tired of giving you my opinion and then having you totally ignore it.
Right.
Because you think you know better. So why did you ask me in the first place?
Yeah, don't ask. Don't consult if you're not going to.
And I think that one of the biggest challenges we have with this council is they lead with this we know best attitude. And they've forgotten that we're there in service. And it doesn't matter if it's police or fire. It doesn't matter if it's water. It doesn't matter if it's roads. We are there in service to Calgarians.
Yeah.
That is our only function.
There's, this gets into the weeds a bit, but there's, I don't know if you know who Thomas Sowell is. He's a sociologist from the U.S., an amazing writer, a brilliant man. And he has a book called The Vision of the Anointed. And the anointed are the leaders who know better than everyone else and will implement whatever policy they think is in your best interest. So it's a fascinating book.
Yeah, it's exactly what we're seeing right now, right? And again, what better way to erode trust with the public than ignore them and do the opposite of what they've asked you to do? And I think that is the biggest challenge of this council.
Solve problems that don't exist.
Yep.
It's tremendous.
Create new ones.
Well, you know, listen, I'm sure you have a busy life, so we want you to get back out there and do what's important. And
thank you.
You know, I hope things go really well. I'm excited for you. And, you know, hopefully you come back. If you have time, come back before the election. And,
absolutely.
Yeah, just great. Give us a touch on how things are going and what's shaking out.
I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So, yeah. Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for coming in. We'll talk again soon.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jeff.